You're listening to the Cat Breeder Sensei Says podcast. This is your show host, April Catito, and in this episode, we're going to be talking to a special guest, Annette Louviere with Wisdom Panel. We're going to be talking about DNA tests and why it is a good idea that every one of your cats should have their own personal DNA test performed, what results you can get from these tests, and how often you should redo the test. So we'll get to this interview right after this short message.
Do you want to learn how to become a successful breeder of pedigree cats? Now you can. For the first time ever, enroll in an online training course that takes you step by step through everything you need to know to get on the right track. Visit catbreedersensei.com to sign up today and use code podcast21 to get $25 off.
All right, so I am super excited to introduce the guest for today's podcast, which is Annette Louviere with Wisdom Panel. Hi, Annette, how are you?
Hi, April. Thanks so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yes, me too. So glad you could take some time out with us today to talk about what it is that you guys do for pedigree cat breeders. And I mean, I know that you offer it for dogs as well. So if there's anyone out there who is listening, it is available for cats and dogs. But we're going to, focus on the testing for cats specifically during the show. But I'm sure that, a lot of it's going to apply to the dogs as well. It's just an awesome service that you guys may or may not know about. So that's really the reason for the podcast, is to educate you about this and let you know that it's available for you. And I definitely am an advocate for it. I use Wisdom Panel for all of my cats. I publish the test results on my website so that not only other breeders can see the results and maybe bring some awareness that it's even out there, but also, the buyers, it adds a level of confidence to them, knowing that the breeder that they're choosing to get their kittens from are doing these types of tests. So we are going to talk to Annette all about Wisdom Panel, and by the end of this, you guys should have a very good understanding of why you should be using it. So let's get started with it. I'm excited too. I love Wisdom Panel. Like I said, I have used a couple of other companies before, but they're just not as in depth as Wisdom Panel. So I love that. So I'm sure we'll get to that. But can you explain what Wisdom Panel provides for pedigree cat breeders?
Yes, in short, Wisdom Panel can provide cat breeders with information regarding over 45 genetic health risks, provides genetic blood typing, identifies various traits the cat may be carrying, and provides genetic diversity of the cat. All of this can help guide precision care and healthier breeding practices, which then improves the lives of cats. And of course, that's the overall goal for everyone involved.
Absolutely. I'm always pushing health, temperament, and type in that order. And, it really starts with this. This is one of the first things I think that everyone should do before they ever, acquire any of their cats for breeding. Wow, it does provide a lot of information that can be used in more ways than one. I mean, not just health, but like you said, traits and characteristics and blood type. So what are the main benefits for a breeder to use Wisdom Panel to DNA test their cats? You kind of summarize the results, but how can you really get down and dirty with it, and for lack of a better term, and use these results to your benefit?
Well, we have a couple different testing options in our Optimal Selection and MyCat DNA products, which are specifically designed for breeders. The cat's data contributes to the pedigree statistics, such as genetic diversity, as well as disease frequency information, which is made available to the breeder and research communities through scientific publications. Panel testing in this manner really helps uncover disease distribution across the various pedigrees. So in addition, we perform clinical validation studies within the newer pedigrees, which helps to determine genetic causality within the different breed backgrounds and improves ultimately disease diagnosis. And it's the same with the prevalence of the different blood types, as well as traits, which of course traits hold an importance to the breeder, both in understanding how they're expressed, as well as some traits can actually be harmful in certain circumstances, such as the case with the brachycephaly gene that's also linked to the Burmese head defect. So having that information is great, as I mentioned, for the breeders. I'm excited to say in June of this year, 2021, we've launched our consumer cat health and ancestry test, Wisdom Panels Complete for Cats. This panel test can be used for both pedigree and random bred cats, as it includes nearly all the same features and benefits of the breeder product. Through this product, we want to help raise awareness of those various inherited conditions in all cats. As more cats are DNA tested, like I mentioned, we will learn more about the feline mutation heritage in the domestic cat population and mutation causality within those different backgrounds, helping us to improve our advice for all cat parents and empower new discoveries in the cat community, really. I will say we feel offering Ancestry is a little bit of a lighter way to engage pet parents who may not be as familiar with the benefits of genetic health testing. And for educational purposes, because cats are not small dogs, we have also built up a cat breed library with information detailing each of the reported breed types, their special characteristic features, and the history behind the pedigree or population, because we believe this information will bring further awareness to the cat fancy and the work that pedigree cat breeders are doing.
Oh God, that's amazing. With your permission, of course, I'd like to add a link to that information on the website under the show notes, so that people can check out the library. I love that. I mean, I love just having information to provide to people that it's kind of hard to hunt down sometimes. It's kind of hard to find, reliable information if it's coming from a company like Wisdom Panel that is, doing the DNA testing and offering this wealth of information. That's definitely a reliable source. So I love that. Thank you for that. Is it enough to test your breeding cats just one time? I mean, is that enough to, say, okay, I've done the DNA screening for this one and I don't have to do it again for as long as they're in the program?
And that's a really good question, because although acquired mutations can occur within individual cells throughout life, such as cancer, as a general rule, a cat's DNA does not change with age. However, it's the testing technology and those scientific discoveries which can change. And so for those reasons, the breeder and pet parents may consider retesting a cat at a later date.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because you want to think DNA one time, right? Good forever. But yes, the technology changes and the discoveries. I did not think of that, and that does make so much sense. We're gonna have a question coming up too in a minute about new things that come up. So I guess that would be, a reason to retest your cats. How simple or complicated is the process for someone to do the DNA test on their cats?
Oh, it's a very easy process for DNA collection, depending on the cat's level of cooperation. So Wisdom Panel's breeder and consumer tests are swab-based, meaning 2 cheek swabs are provided in each of the kits. With the breeder products, there is the option for those samples to be collected by a veterinarian, during which the vet scans the cat's microchip and signs a document with the sample ID that's linked to the test results and the cat's registered name. That way the breeder can then keep that form and present it along with the results to their registry or governing body to show that the results are for that particular cat.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that either. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I have you on today. That's awesome information. And I'll just mention, as being the end user for your DNA test,
Mhm.
I've never had any trouble. I mean, sometimes the cats don't like you putting the swabs in their mouth, but
Understandable.
it's just a few seconds that you have to do it and just rub it around on their gums, under their lips. And, it's relatively simple. It's not blood work or,
Mhm.
no needles or anything like that. It's really just swabbing the inside of their mouths. So, super simple to do at home.
Yeah, and I will add, in the instructions, I think we asked for roughly 20 seconds to rub
Yeah.
on the cheek. And that does not have to be consecutive, especially if the kitty is objecting to it. You
Right.
can do 5 seconds, take a little break, do 10 seconds, come back to it. Another consideration with swabbing, we do recommend to obtain the sample roughly 2 hours after eating to
Mhm.
minimize the amount of potential food debris that could be collected on the swab.
Right. And I got a question too about that. When it comes to kittens, if we want to DNA test the kittens and they are nursing, what
Mhm.
is is there a amount of time for that to, like, make sure they haven't nursed from their mother for X amount of time?
It would be the same time estimate, so roughly 2 hours. And as we kind of just mentioned, DNA doesn't change with age. So you can definitely collect at any life stage of the cat. It just might be worthwhile to wait a little bit longer until the kitten is weaned, if possible, because there is risk for not just cross contamination of the food debris, but contamination of the mother's cell through nursing.
Right. So you may
And so
pick up some of her DNA.
exactly. But I do want to note that if that is of concern, as one of our quality control measures during the DNA extraction process, we are alerted when a sample contains DNA markers from more than one individual, because essentially it will fail through testing. And in such an event, we will send fresh swabs so you can collect a new sample.
Oh, that's
Um,
good. That's good. Good.
yeah.
And how, this is a big question that's out there, how accurate are the results of the DNA testing?
Well, I'm happy to say we're the world's leading pet DNA service with over 2.5 million pet parents worldwide having chosen Wisdom Panel. In our over decade-long history of testing dogs and half decade of testing cats, we've implemented quality control measures to ensure at least a 99% accuracy of our health tests. Our blood typing test identifies 4 genetic variants which influence feline blood types and have been shown to also be 99% consistent with serologic blood types in domestic cats. As an additional quality control step, all cat DNA tests in the United States and Canada are processed through a USDA accredited laboratory.
Awesome. So very accurate. That's very accurate results. Um, okay, some of the new conditions that we were mentioning just a little while ago. I know that maybe they were not on these tests in the past, and then now they are. That's because things have changed and maybe there's some new discoveries. Um, or, for example, things that you guys will test for that some of the other companies will not. Like they won't, it's not even an option to test for this. What is actually, what type of maybe research or what, prompts you to add these new tests to your groups, and how much of a concern are they for the breeders? Because I'm in all the groups and I see all the conversations going on about the tests and
Mhm.
these new things. Specifically, I know from ones that keep coming up are the blood brain barrier dysfunction and the factor 12.
Mhm.
Those two, that everyone it's kind of all over the board about whether this should be a real concern for breeders, or is it just something new that we're just should be aware of. So what triggers you guys to add these new tests, and when should we feel like it's concerning and we need to start paying closer attention to these?
Right. The goal, of course, is to bring awareness to those various health disorders. And we want to stay as up to date as possible. So, as we've learned more about the types of variants, behavior, and frequency of disorders, we have made those updates to the reporting. Another example is the addition of the second of the 2 known mucopolysaccharidosis type 6 variants. That was another addition recently. So similarly, kind of tying in, there are 2 known variants for the factor 12 deficiency. So in 2020, when we made those changes, that second variant was added to our products with the renaming of the variants for clarity. What was formerly called factor 12 deficiency prior to that addition has now been renamed factor 12 deficiency variant 1. And of course, the newer variant is variant 2. And through testing, we have found that variant 2 is more widespread than variant 1. So of course, I fully understand the questions involved. How concerning should it be? Well, one thing I can say, factor 12 deficiency is one of the most common inherited blood clotting disorders in cats, in the domestic cat. So unlike other bleeding disorders, cats deficient in factor 12 don't tend to show spontaneous bleeding or even abnormal bleeding after surgery or trauma, which is good. So they're pretty much asymptomatic from what we can tell. However, affected individuals will have a clinically prolonged blood clotting time. So as a veterinarian, I still find it very important to understand what is happening in these kitty patients, especially if I'm doing those diagnostic workups and finding, okay, this cat is clinically prolonged with its blood clotting. I need to know why before moving forward with the procedure. This is especially important if factor 12 deficiency is inherited in conjunction with another disease process, because that can definitely exacerbate things. Since we're kind of talking with more interest in breeding, I will note that there is a possible correlation with factor 12 in maintaining pregnancy in cats. It's been suggested within the medical literature. However, that association remains controversial, and more research is truly needed on that subject to understand fully that involvement there.
Would that be with a cat that like carries 2 copies of the factor 12? Yeah,
exactly.
Okay. So one that's actually at risk and carries 2 copies of this disorder.
Yep. So we're trying to keep an eye on the latest research, and that kind of ties into, because that research there is still pending. So that ties into the medication sensitivity, which I presume is what we're talking about with the blood-brain barrier dysfunction.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's typically compared to MDR1 or multi-drug resistance 1 in dogs. So the research for understanding the mutation, specifically it's the ABCB1 gene in cats, that research is still very much in progress as well, with the most recent publication actually being from July of 2021. And we are updating our health results to reflect this information too, because like I said, we want to stay as up to date as possible. So these research studies have shown cats with 2 copies of the medication sensitivity variant are affected by this condition, and it's suggested that cats with 1 copy may also be affected if treated with higher doses of the particular drugs. So therefore, the current recommendation when treating cats with medication sensitivity is to adhere to similar precautions as recommended for the MDR1 positive dogs out there. So really, it's important to be aware of the medications that could result in adverse reaction with those cats.
I love this. I mean, I can see why these tests are beneficial for pet owners as well. These are just things that, you know, people don't know about their cats normally. And it could spend weeks trying to diagnose, you know, what went wrong or what happened. And if you know these things, then that makes a big difference. So interesting. I love it. It's it's fascinating to me. Like, you know, it's kind of it's just a preventative measure, you know. It's just preventative for everything.
Proactive.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Okay. So you guys used to have the interactive digital displays online where you could click around and everything was, you know, pretty colors and kind of very fancy. And then I think it was back in October of last year, you guys went back to PDF. That caused mixed reactions also.
Yes.
So, I'm sure the people who know what I'm talking about for the interactive displays online want me to know, inquiring minds, do you guys
Mhm.
plan on going back to that type of display?
And asking the hard questions as you should to provide a better support and ultimately improve the experience for everyone. We are consolidating all products onto the same web platform. So there should be changes coming to what we're calling the legacy reports. So those prior October and prior of last year. So that report experience in honestly the next month or so should be updated to better match the current user experience.
Awesome. That's good. That's good. It was nice to have the links, to be able to share the reports on your website and stuff. Okay, can you give us just a little briefing on what makes your DNA test different from the competitors? There's a couple of them out there that, also offer DNA testing, but how are you guys different?
Well, we're developed by world-leading geneticists and veterinarians. By we, I mean the Wisdom Panel line of feline tests. It offers the world's most comprehensive cat DNA tests and screens for more genetic conditions than any other consumer cat DNA test. This allows cat parents to care for and to know their cats in previously unknowable ways, connecting DNA results to actions that ultimately equal better care, whether that's precision veterinary care or guiding breeding decisions. And so results empower pet parents to improve the lives of cats now, as well as cats for generations to come.
Nice. And health, that's our number one priority, whether we're breeders or pet owners. So I think we all have the same goal in mind. Exactly. All right, if someone wants to order a kit for their cat, how do they do that?
Our kits are available direct to consumers online. If in the United States, an easy way to access is through the website wisdompanel.com to find Complete for Cats and to find a link to Optimal Selection Feline. If you go to the top banner for cats, the little drop down, you select for breeders, it'll redirect to the Optimal Selection website. But of course, you can visit that directly through optimal-selection.com. And global consumers outside of North America can visit mycatdna.com for kits.
Awesome. Okay. And I'll put these links as well in the show notes on the website so that they can have a direct link and order some kits. I always have, 4 or 5 kits on hand in case I just have a closet, my closet with supplies has my Wisdom Panel kits in there in case I want to DNA test a kitten. Maybe he's going out for breeding, to someone else. So we'll test them before, that's the first thing we do. Just run the tests and make sure everything looks good. Well, I know I learned a whole lot just from this short time from talking to you. So I appreciate so much you taking the time to educate me and our listeners on the show today. It's of great knowledge, and I hope that somebody becomes aware that it wasn't familiar with Wisdom Panel before today and reaches out and starts using them in their cattery. It's an awesome tool. I mean, I just can't imagine. I have one on file for every one of my cats. So it just, I'm always referring to it. I forget, like, okay, let me go check, do they carry the dilution gene? I gotta go look, until you memorize what they have. And the traits are awesome, blood type, especially if you have a cat that is, commonly you have B blood, and, those can cause the neo, tell me what the word is, isoerythrolysis. The NI, from blood type incompatibility. So just that is a good reason to do the test for your cats. So thank you again. I appreciate it so much. And if they want to reach out to you, they can just use the, contact form if they have questions or anything on the website, and someone there will reply to them with an answer. Awesome. Very good. Well, thank you again, Annette, for your time. And I'm sure we'll speak to you soon.
Sounds great. This has been my pleasure. I always enjoy chatting cats.
Yes, me too. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Cat Breeder Sensei Says podcast. Leave us a 5-star review on the podcast platform that you listen to us on, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next exciting episode that should be coming up very soon. Share this podcast on social media with your friends, and be sure to visit us online at catbreedersensei.com and check out our course, our online training course, The Complete Guide to Breeding Pedigree Cats. This is April Catito checking out. You guys make good choices, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.